Welcome back. Once again, I have a backlog of Lichess Rapid games that I'd like to go through. Hopefully I can learn from any mistakes or blunders that I made, and hopefully to save time, I'm just going to go straight to the first game, which I've already pulled up here. I've already gone to the point of my first mistake and or blunder, and then I've turned off the evaluation, so I don't know what I should have played next here. Actually, it's my opponent's turn here, and they made a mistake, and I didn't capitalize on it. It's a place on the graph where it jumped up and down a couple of times. So after I played this, trying to get that bishop to go back, my opponent just locked it in there. Oh, it says I didn't take it. Why didn't I take it? I'm just going to guess that I should have taken it here. I'm going to use the Z key to turn this back on and turn on the lines. Yes, I should have just taken it. And why did I not take it? Wait, did I not spend enough time on this move? No, I spent 20 seconds deciding to go over here. Why in the world didn't I just take this? Okay, well, I guessed that one. Let's turn off the evaluation. After I played this blunder and my opponent blundered there, I'm guessing they should have pulled the bishop back. And it looks like I didn't take it again. So again, I'm going to guess that I should have just taken the bishop. And I don't know why I didn't. What did I play? I played knight to f4. Why in the world? Okay, well, let's just make sure that, yes, that was my only good move, was to take the bishop. Was I worried about this file becoming open for the rook? Okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and guess that my next move was not doing that after I got this knight out and my opponent still didn't move the bishop. Yes, I should have taken the bishop here too, but now it's not that big of an advantage because they can also get the knight. And again, I didn't take. I saved my knight and they sacrificed their bishop for a pawn, but now it's not sacrificing because their queen is protecting it, but now I get a free bishop. So my opponent has a very slight advantage, but I take this bishop. Their best move is to take mine, I take back, and their best move is to play h4. Okay, so we could have avoided all of this if I had just taken their bishop back before their queen couldn't see that. Then there's only one other point in the game where I wanted to look at. That's after I gave my opponent a huge advantage. We were still fairly close, but when I played here, that gave them a mate in one. Oh, it's down here. I just had to go in front of the rook, which would allow them to check here, and then I would have hidden behind the rook. But because I went up, all they had to do was take the rook. I can't go forward because of the knight. The knight is guarding those two squares, and the queen would be guarding all of these down here, and that one. Wow, I gave my opponent a mate in one, but they missed it, and I got away. But a few moves later, after I've been able to run my king all the way over here, my opponent is still up -3. If only they will... They have two moves that keep them ahead. One is dropping back here to check me, which means I can't hide behind this bishop, so I would have to go forward. The other one is knight captures d5, which is here. But then I would take back, wouldn't I? But instead what my opponent played was coming down this way. And I'm pretty sure I understood their idea, but they probably realized after they moved it there that, you know, that pawn is defended. And I was ahead for the rest of the game. Wow. That's it. That's the move that lost this game for my opponent. My guess is that here they probably didn't know that they were ahead. Once my king had hidden here, they probably didn't realize they had an advantage because they're down a piece. I've got a bishop for one of their pawns, so I have a whole extra piece, and they were probably feeling a little bit desperate here. That's my guess. But this doesn't make sense, so I think if I were them with 6 minutes left, I might have taken a little bit longer. How much? Oh, they did take a while. Never mind. They spent more than 30 seconds on that move, which is a long time in a 10-minute rapid game. I don't know that I would have found this either. And it says then if I had gone to king to d1, which would be my best move, then they would castle long, which would put a rook here lined up with my king. Okay, I guess I see that. But here, there was no way I was going to find my absolute best move of taking that knight. That's what the engine recommends, is I have to take that knight with my rook. Or just take their b pawn, which threatens their rook, and that means it's not that important when they take mine, because my rook's hanging. So I think that's why the engine is suggesting that I go here. The reason that I took with my knight is because it's a check, and I figured they would take back with the... What? I don't know what just happened. I was trying to draw an arrow. Okay, back here. Let me try to draw this arrow again. I took with my knight because I thought would be check, and I thought they would take back with the pawn, and then I would take back with my rook, and then this rook would be saved, basically. And then I could always defend it with this knight. So when I took there, they are supposed to take back, but for some reason that's not as big as an advantage as they had given me before. But now I'm up 3 points of material instead of 2. It's not a bishop for a pawn now. Now I'm just up a clean bishop, and I have 2 pieces pointed here. And my opponent played valiantly on until this position, and then they resigned here. Now I'm up a bishop and 2 pawns, so I haven't made a ton of progress since that last position. But I do understand my 3 mistakes. I should have just taken the bishop with my h-pawn. I'm going to go on to the next game. In this game, I was ahead up until this point, according to the eval bar and the graph, which I have now just turned off. But then what I played was there, which is counted as inaccurate. Now, I assume, a bunch of choices here. I don't know why that's inaccurate, because it looks like we just trade some pieces. Oh, I guess this knight isn't defended and they would be pointed at it. But then I could just defend it, couldn't I? Or should I have pushed this pawn first? That's what I'm going to guess. I should have played c4, which I think would have forced the bishop back. But no, they could have checked first, and then I would have had to taken it, and then they could have just moved the bishop into that spot. I don't know, but that's what I'm going to guess, because I have no idea what I should have played here. It was knight to d5. That's the only move that maintains my full advantage, and queen to b6 is slightly better. Okay, that gets behind. Okay, I like that one. I probably could have thought about this and found queen to b6, because it points at their king. So as soon as I move the c-pawn here, it looks like I would win a bishop for the pawn. Or maybe, yeah, I'd win the bishop for the pawn. Okay. I like queen to b6, but I'm not sure what knight to d5 does. Okay, it aims at that bishop, but that bishop's defended. And it says they would leave the bishop there, and they would drop this knight back to f2. I don't know why. And then I would still play queen to b6, even though that knight's in the way of this diagonal now. Okay, well, I don't understand that at all, so I don't understand why this brought us back closer to even. My opponent takes it as they're supposed to with their bishop, and now this knight is undefended. And that's what I didn't notice here. I had to defend that knight by bringing this rook over, or playing queen to b6. Maybe that's what queen to b6 was about, is defending that knight. But I didn't notice it, and that's the mistake that put me behind. My opponent gets the knight, and I actually played my best move, which was taking their pawn down there. So if they're threatening, we're threatening each other's rooks. My opponent's best move is to save their rook, and my best move is to save mine. But the engine says to save it by giving it up. So I don't understand. But anyway, I went here and they put the bishop there, and now this rook cannot be saved. So that's why I should have put it here, I guess. And I resigned here because I didn't feel like playing this one anymore. But my mistake was there leaving this knight undefended. So I understand that. I should have noticed that the knight was not defended, and I should have played rook to c8 now, or queen to b6. I understand that. I'm going to go on to the next game. In this, the third game that I'm going to look at in this video, you can hopefully see on the graph there that I had a lead at the beginning, but then I gave it away in the middle. And then my opponent gave it, back to equality, and then I gave them a lead again, and then they gave me a huge blunder right there, which I maintained until the end. So I'm going to go to this spot right here where I gave away what little advantage I had. Looks like none of these are big jumps, so those must have been inaccuracies leading up to this point. But here I blundered, so I'm going to hit that and hit the Z key so I can't see the analysis. Wow, we're basically already in an end game here. Where are we on the move list? Oh, we're on, okay, move 30. I played knight to e4. Oh, well, that's an obvious blunder. That just gives away a knight. Did they take it? They did. Okay, well, I understand that one too. That's an elementary blunder. I should not have played that. Let's figure out what I should have played instead. Should I have come here, offered the queen trade? I don't think so, because then they can take this pawn. Should I have left my queen here where it's defending both of these pawns and maybe just pushed that one? No, because then that allows the knight in here. So should I have pushed the other pawn? Should I have made a different knight move? Should I have brought the knight down here where it would help protect that pawn? I'm going to guess it's one of those two. I'm going to guess it's either knight to h5 or knight to e8. Let's turn on the lines. It was not. It was g5. Nope. It did say g5 there for a second, didn't it? Okay, so knight to g8. Oh, back there, which I did not guess. Or queen to e8. And it says they would trade. They wouldn't take this pawn? Wait, if I had played queen to e8, you're telling me they wouldn't take this free pawn. It says they could, but if they did, then I would get their free pawn, and then they would hop their knight in here. I don't know. If I were them at that point, I would probably, come take this free pawn too, right? If they take this pawn, it says I have an advantage, but what if I take this pawn? Aren't they going to take this one and get out of the way of this? That's what I would do if I were them. It says that's what they would do. And then I would take a pawn, and then wouldn't they take this one? Of course they would. Oh, and then I get that one. But that's not my best move. My best move is queen to c1 check, and then when they get out of check, then I take the pawn with my knight. Okay, well, I understand that then. Okay, I got that, but none of that happened, but I do understand my blunder was giving away the knight, and they took it. But then how did I get the game back? That's my question. Let me turn this off to save a little power, but I'll leave the graph on here to see what happened next. Just really quickly, I'm glad I kept playing, but they went there and I can't, oh, that was a blunder? Okay, I thought that was good because it was, they had a bunch of pieces aimed in here, but they took there and I took back, and my opponent is still ahead. Oh, that was the blunder that took us to even, but I didn't notice it, and I played that. Okay, what should I have played here? I should have played a4. That's the only move that keeps us even. Okay, well, I thought checking is the move that would keep us even, but it didn't. And I thought maybe, I can just hover around here, and my opponent's a little ahead on time, but this is the situation in which we find ourselves. That was inaccurate, but they're still ahead until we get... Oh, that was inaccurate? Okay. I thought I, should get as close as possible to the end here, but my opponent went back to attack the pawn there, so I came over here thinking, that if they took the pawn, then I could check. And when they got out of check, I could check, and I thought I would have a perpetual here, but the engine doesn't seem to think so. But they didn't take the pawn. They checked me, so I had to get out of... Oh, that was a blunder? I should have gotten out of check a different way. Should I have blocked it with my queen? Nope. I should have gone backwards. For some reason, that's better than this. Okay. But I went over there, and then my opponent did that, which is a blunder that my opponent never recovered from. And that's because I can check down here, and when they get out of check, I can promote that pawn, and my queens are protecting each other. Now, I thought they were going to take, and then I would just be up a queen, against that knight, but instead they went there, which seemed odd, because it allowed me to check over here, and when they came out, it allowed me to check here, and then when they went there... Wait, that was a blunder? Oh, I'm still way ahead, but I had mate in 2. Oh my. What's my mate in 2 then? Puzzle time. We have a mate in 2. Is it here? Okay, I think that's it. I should have played the queen that's on h1. I should have played it to e1. That would have left them only one legal move, I think, because that queen down there would have been cutting off all of this, both queens on this queen cutting off these squares, and the queens protecting each other, of course. So yeah, I would have left them only one legal move. Okay, I'm going to guess that I should have played here when they moved up. Then I would have had mate there on e2. Yeah, okay. Well, at least I found it, but I didn't find it during the game. But, it wasn't that hard, and I eventually was able to take their queen because they hung it, and now I have a mate in 4. But yeah, the move that lost my opponent the game was that. And again, that's because I can check, which then protects the promotion square. I'm guessing they should have gotten in front of the pawn or just taken it. Oh, okay, the engine says they should have just taken it. And then, can't I do this? Okay, I can check, and then they have to go up, right? And then I can't I check again? And is that not perpetual? Oh no, because now they can play the pawn and I can't check here. It's not perpetual. Okay, so yeah, they should have just taken the pawn right here. It's the only move that keeps them ahead. And I guess maybe they were seeing the same perpetual that I had been seeing earlier, so they didn't take the pawn, but I'm not sure what that was aiming for. Was it aiming to come over here? Well, anyway, I'm glad I saw that. I'm glad I won the game. And this was the one that I hung my knight. Okay, yeah, I definitely understand that blunder. Let's go on to the next game. In this game, with less than a minute used off their clock, my opponent just abandoned the game. Now, the clock doesn't show it here. The clock shows 9 minutes remaining on their clock, but when they left the game, I wasn't able to claim victory for something like 4 minutes. Their clock ticked down to almost down to 5 minutes before I was able to claim the victory on this one. So that was pretty frustrating. And it looks like I'm ahead here, right? I'm up 5 points of material because I've just gotten a free rook. Also, it looks like I might be able to, to penetrate in here. My king is safe, theirs is not. I didn't know I was ahead in this game until about here. Not necessarily that move, but, I knew if they took me, I would get their rook. Their best move here is to play en passant because I have just shoved this pawn past it. And of course the engine says that's the move that keeps them close to even, is capturing that pawn here. Now I thought if they did that, I could take with the rook and my rook would be pointed right down here at this pawn. I thought that would be okay. And plus they can never move that pawn. But my opponent did take with that e-pawn, which of course allowed me to take the rook, but that's my third best move. My best move, according to the engine, is to take this pawn here with my rook. My second best move is to play queen to c2. Imagine that. Well, what I did was I took that with my pawn. That still wasn't horrible, and I'm still ahead, But that allows my opponent to save their rook. So I don't know why I'm ahead, because they can save the rook. The problem is they didn't save their rook, which allowed me to take it. And after a couple more moves here, that's where my opponent left the game. And like I said, they just left, and I sat there holding my tablet for 4 or 5 minutes. But I'm interested about why am I ahead here if my opponent can just save the rook. What am I going to do if they save the rook? It says I'll play queen to c2. Okay, again, how am I ahead? Let's say they play their best move. Now what do I do? Knight to d4 or rook a to e1. Okay, that lines up with their king. I get that. But knight to d4 is my best move. That's what it says. Now their best move is knight to f6. Okay, now I bring the other rook over and it's check. I assume they're going to block with the bishop. Okay. Now queen to c3 is my best move. I would never find that. I don't know what it does. I think what I would be highly tempted to do here is put a knight. No, but I would lose it though. Oh, but that would be a little bit of a trade. Interesting. Yeah, I would probably just play that and then I would lose. How bad would that be? Oh, I would still be ahead somehow. Oh, rook to e2. Okay. That's how I maintain my large advantage here. Yeah, see, I don't think I was ahead here. I know the engine says I was, and probably if I played the line out for 12 or 15 moves, then something would become obvious. But to me, the only thing about this move that's bad for them is that they can't castle any longer, but they don't want to. They clearly don't want to castle over there because they've got these pawns shoved forward. So to me, the mistake of the game, that's what lost them the game, was playing that pawn instead of saving their rook. Because here I can figure out how I'm ahead because I get the rook. But if they had just moved it, even though the engine still says I'm ahead, who knows why? Let's go on to the next one. I'm just going to leave the lines on, but I haven't looked at them yet. I'm tired of turning them off and on. In this game, according to the graph down here, the blunder that lost me the game was playing whatever I played next. I played queen to g4. That's unusual. Why would I have played that? Can't they just take it? That seems like a really elementary blunder as well. I should have just come back down here, right? No. Okay, queen to c2 would have been bad. I had to play queen to b3 where they can immediately attack it with the pawn. Why is this bad? I don't know. But I do know why this is bad, and they should have just taken it, but they didn't. They castled. So then I get to save my queen. But I have to save my queen by moving it over one where they can immediately attack it again. So I moved it to a spot where they couldn't immediately attack it again, but that's the blunder that lost me the game because they can play d4. And that attacks my queen with this protected bishop, right? The bishop's protected. And if I move my queen to safety, they get that. And the only place I can move my queen to safety looks like is just coming forward 1 or 2. If I come forward 1, they can attack it again. If I come forward 2, they can probably attack it again there. And but again, even if I got to safety, they get my knight for a pawn. So I resigned here. Yes, very clearly my blunder was going right there where they could have just taken it. But what is wrong with queen to c2? They would have played d4, and wouldn't I have just saved the knight? Oh, I don't have to save the knight yet because I can take this bishop, and when they take back, then I save the knight, right? Well, first I take this pawn, and then I save the knight, right? Yep, I go to, wait, that saves it because my queen's protecting that square. Okay, so this probably would have been fine. That's what I should have played. Got it. Okay, in this game, I was ahead most of the way, all the way up until my very last move, and I do remember this one. This one was a mouse click, or a misslip. I wasn't using a mouse because I'm playing these on my tablet out of my front porch at night after the rest of my household has gone to bed, and this is one of the last things I do every day. But here, I remember thinking that what I needed to do, because I wanted to get my rook off the back rank, so but I was worried that they would checkmate me down here. So I was trying to decide which one of these pawns to move forward. And I was also, I noticed that my knight is undefended here. And I was worried, about which pawn to move forward and how far. And I thought that I put this here. And it does say that that's one of my 2 best moves. King to f8 is one of my better moves. But when I thought I was playing g5, what actually got played was f5. And I didn't know it, I obviously didn't know I was ahead right before that and know what the score is now when I'm playing the game. But because it was a mouse slip, I got incredibly frustrated because now there's no way to defend this knight. Now this pawn's undefended, which wins my rook. I assume that's their best move. Yeah. In hindsight, I should have just waited to see if they would have noticed that. Because what if they didn't notice that? What if they just played this instead? Well, suddenly I'm ahead again because I can defend that pawn now. I can also check them. I think those are the only 2 moves. Wait, why wouldn't this be a good defense? I've got to know that. Oh, that's probably what I would have played if they had done something silly by not taking this pawn. I would have probably done this, but then we would have been drawn. Okay. But yeah, that was a big mistake on my part. But like I said, I guess I just touched the wrong square on the screen. That explains this one. That's about all the time I have for today, but I think I did understand most, if not all, of these mistakes. As you saw, a couple of them were just elementary level blunders. In one case, I hung my queen, and they didn't take it, but I still lost that game. In another case, I hung my knight, but I ended up winning that game. So I still have elementary level blunders to look out for. I still have to, before I move a piece to a square, look around and see, can something capture it there? And even the ones that weren't quite so obvious in elementary, I think I understood them too. I've got a few more of these games to go, but I'm going to have to save them for another video. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.